There's a very special and symbolic animal behind this movement, I believe. Do you want to talk a bit about Hilda?
Yeah. Well, when Farm Sanctuary started back in 1986, I felt it was very important to see firsthand what was happening to animals in our food production system. So I went to factory farms and stockyards and slaughterhouses and saw animals in horrible conditions. In some cases, living animals were just thrown away like garbage. And that was the case with a sheep named Hilda. We were at a stockyard in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and behind the stockyard was the dead pile, where there were dead cows and dead pigs and dead sheep. And off of this dead pile, one of the sheep lifted her head, and she was still alive. And so we removed her, took her to a veterinarian, thinking she would have to be euthanized. But she recovered and lived with us for more than 10 years, and that was Hilda, our first rescued animal.
What have changed in yourself from that moment on? Which person did you become after that?
Well, in 1986, I was 23 years old. Today, I'm 57 years old. So there's been a number of changes. I think also in the early days, we had much more of a strident approach and more confrontational, saying this has to change. And I still believe this system has to change. But I've become, I think, more patient, more understanding of people that grow up in farming communities, people who grow up believing that animals are products, because that's all they know. That's all these people know. So understanding that good people or people who care are doing bad things has been a big part of my evolution. And ultimately, what we need to do is not just say, this is a bad system, this is cruelty, this needs to stop. We need to say, here are the solutions that can be done instead. And so creating opportunities for farmers and for citizens and for consumers to eat plants instead of animals, to live in a way that is compassionate, to live in a way that doesn't make themselves sick physically or emotionally, and that also doesn't harm the planet, is, I think, our goal at this time. And recognizing that good people do bad things, not because they want to do bad things, but just because they haven't been educated or they don't know that there are other opportunities. And so creating those opportunities and educating people is a very important part of our work.
I believe that before you used to eat meat, and something has changed in your life. What was the turning point for you?
Well, I grew up eating meat, milk, and eggs like everybody around me. You know, human beings are social animals. We tend to do what everybody around us does, and that was the case with me. But I also started paying attention and learning about the harms that human beings were causing to other animals and the planet, and I didn't feel good about it. And I ultimately did not want to be a cog in a wheel of systems that were causing violence and suffering and harm. And, you know, I grew up in Hollywood, California, and one of my first memories as a child was of this beautiful oak tree in the neighborhood near my parents' house that was cut down so another house could be made bigger. And it just bothered me. And then seeing wild animals like deer hit by cars or get tangled in fences and then suffering and being killed. And I just saw the harms that human beings were causing to other animals, and I didn't want to be part of it. And then through high school and college, I started learning about factory farming and about the food system. For parts of high school, I didn't eat much meat because I had heard about how field calves are put in small crates. My grandmother told me about that. I also remember one time coming home and my mother made a chicken dinner, and I saw the dead bird on his or her back on the plate with the legs and the wings, and I just had that image and did not eat chicken that night and didn't eat meat for a while in high school. But that memory sort of faded away, and then I got back to eating meat. And then I started getting involved with activist organizations like Greenpeace, working on environmental issues, and also human rights organizations, working on human rights issues, and learning about the connections and about how factory farming reaches so many people and causes so much harm around the planet, including to animals. And so in 1985, I went vegan. 1986, I co-founded Farm Sanctuary, and I've been doing this work ever since.
What is your actually your big goal nowadays? You have like a dream, a desire. You've been talking with so many people, organizations, traveling around the world. What is your biggest desire nowadays?
My biggest desire now, as it has been for a long time, is to create a vegan world. And I'm increasingly wondering, what does that look like? So today I spend a lot of time listening and learning from others, and also expressing to people things that I've experienced and saying what works and what doesn't work from my experience. But learning from others as well is very important.